Fabrice, thank you so much for joining this first episode of the Nerd Diary. And hello, everyone. Hello, all the nerds out there. I hope you are doing great. And this is the maiden episode of the Nerd Diary. And we have a nerd with us, Fabrice. He works in mobile development a lot, AI and blockchain also. So we are going to talk to him about how it looks like to be a mobile developer in the world of AI. But before we trigger some nerdy questions to Fabrice, may I please ask you to introduce yourself to my audience?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I want to thank you for just invite me. It's like huge pleasure to be there, and hope we are just going to talk about some interesting stuff. Basically, my name is Fabrice Soumsa. If you want to check on internet, you can just saw me. But my friend just called me Fabio. I'm software engineer, working on different kind of project, even if web sometime, but very focused on mobile development and other stuff. So yeah, I like tech in general, AI, blockchain, and I'm very interested by the tech. So yeah, glad to be there. I also have like YouTube channel called Flutter Guys, where sometime time to time I share content about mobile development and others. And yeah, very happy to be there.
Thank you so much, Fabrice. So let's get going. Let's ask some nerdy questions to you. So, Fabrice, the one thing which I being asked most often is that when you look at tools like Replit or Lovable, it goes to a direction where you don't need to know anything to create an app. And I believe it is true to some extent to create even a mobile app. So, for the people who are looking forward to being a mobile app developer, what is that you are going to tell?
Oh, okay. Yeah. First, I think those tools are good, by the way. I don't think that there is bad or the intention behind them are bad, So it also depends. For example, if can you just go deeper? So I will try to explain my thought.
Sure, sure. Please go
So,
ahead.
for example, if I just take someone who doesn't have like any experience in development or who is not like the developer or even if designer, it is going to be like much easier for him. It is very similar to WordPress, for example. When WordPress and other stuff like tools like WordPress was out, even in Shopify, the intent behind them was like, okay, let's just have kind of interface where people who are not very familiar with the tech behind them can just, kind of make drag and drop stuff, creating stuff like very easy and try to ship fast. So I think it is also the idea behind Lovable, for example. Even if when Lovable generates like a product for you, you can go kind of like deeper, check the code, but I'm not sure like a lot of people, check really the codes behind and try to understand how it works. They are just like, oh, I really love this design, so let's just use it, for example. So yeah, I think this can be helpful for people who want to create product. At least I might consider it if I wasn't a developer, for example, if I want to create like an MVP or a POC, so I can just maybe test my idea without waiting for, 2 or 3 months, or if I don't know anyone who is like a developer, or if I don't have like a co-founder, of course. But at the same time, if I were of, I mean, this is the case, but let's suppose that if I were just a junior, for example, or if I'm learning like development tech in general, if I'm into the tech, maybe I will just try to create the product by myself, like kind of from scratch. There is also like some other AI tools, maybe that we are just going to talk about later, can just help me to just build those kind of stuff. And yeah, so it just depends at which stage you are really at and what you want to build. But for kind of like sustainable products, if you want to custom like everything by yourself and have the full hand into your code, try to better understand how things work, um, I'm not sure that it will match at 100%. So yeah.
So, if I understand what you were saying, is that maybe to start with, to experiment with, it's a good thing to do. But maybe later on, you may have to get into to understand and do something, which a product would like to have. There is one more question, Fabrice. I am not sure what your take in this. Like, if a few days back, I myself wrote a few things in the LinkedIn as like, if Claude Code is the only thing, then what is the difference between a company who is having lots of dollars and a human who is not having so many dollars but have access to the Claude Code? So, what is the differentiating factor between these two products? Because let's face it, if Cloud Code is the only thing, I can only also use Cloud Code to create the same thing and maybe sell it in a cheaper way.
Yeah, I mean that's good question. I haven't think about that so far. uh, but I think yeah, maybe some years ago it wasn't like really you can make like this comparison like so some years ago, but nowadays, like you were saying, we should start thinking about those kind of questions. Like for example, if you are a huge company, let's suppose that if I may call like some of them like Google or Microsoft, and whether you have access to like money, like some dollars, like you were saying, okay. And if I'm just like a solo developer and I just have my cloud codes, yes, of course, I think I can ship a product or even if like build a product. But company with more dollars, um, what is going on, if I may just explain it like that. Like some years ago, the problem was okay, who is able to create the product itself? So the problem really was create a product, not how to maintain it. That is other subject. How to create the product. But now we are shipping into another area where the problem is now like how I'm just going to distribute the product. So, I mean, if you take like one developer who is like really good and he's using like Cloud Code, for example, this might work. Okay, you can create your product. Some people might just like it, but if you want to ship it like around the world, you don't have like the same resources as a huge company with a dollars. So, for example, if they have like the same product, sometimes it might work if people really like your product, but if you want to compete with them, they can say, okay, the market is huge. We have the money. You don't. At least we can buy yours and just keep it for us. Or we can just, inject some dollars and yeah, just let people know that our product is better compared to yours. So this is one of the points. And the second maybe should be like, okay, if even if like those company also can use like cloud codes, if they have some good developer and they are good who can use the cloud code, maybe they can ship more faster than you. But now with AI, hmm.
Okay, good to know that. So AI anyway has to be used in some way or other. It's just the scale of the usage one can decide. So, which is your favorite model, AI model as of today? Which is the one you prefer?
That's good question. At the beginning, I was kind of like trying several model. To be honest, uh, I haven't tried like DeepSeek, some model from ChatGPT, some model from Code, and my favorite one, maybe 1 year ago was at least ChatGPT one because I think that it was the one who wasn't hallucinate like a lot. But nowadays, I would probably say, yeah, those ones from the cloud seems to be like, okay, they are working fine. They are resonating kind of pretty good. And in terms of architecture, um, yeah, this seems okay. But for example, there is also something in this area of AI. The new kind of gold is tokens, So if you want to use the most performing model, I mean, the cost is very huge. So depending on what you are building, and again, like you were saying, for example, to our previous example, huge company can say that, okay, we just have dollars. Let's just use whatever you want. If you are personal developer working on your project, I'm not pretty sure that you want to put $100 like every month just for tokens. So at least, like my case, for example, I'm just going to try to combine both. Like sometimes, just code by myself and also use not the most highest model like Opus, for example. Like they just launched like the 4.6 like some month ago. But I'm just going to use, for example, the Sonnet one. So, and say, okay, it's my work. I know how to structure just the architecture. And if there is like some changes that I can make during my review, I can just make it by myself because again, I just understand what I'm doing. And yeah, so.
Good. So
And
I
you,
think,
if I may ask, yeah.
yeah. So I think this is the approach being followed by most of the people where when they build initially, they might end up using cheaper models because, as you said, token maxing is the new thing now, right? And
Exactly.
it's exactly costly. I'm not sure. Last time I checked with Copilot, like its Opus 4.8 is 15 or more than 20x costlier than other models, which is too much. Yeah. So for mobile app development, what's your take on some of the open source models which you can run with Olama, for example?
Yeah.
How are
Uh,
they?
I haven't tested like Olamo. I have friends of mine who just tested and they were like, okay, it is not, it is like good, working fine. In my case, if I may take like this direct example, I have been working on Worry. It is like personal project, like the app that I launched some months ago. And the aim of or the goal of the app was like, okay, let's generate like a random question for two people who are just having chat, for example. So every day you have like different topic and others. So I can just generate like those one like directly from the hand. So what I just made like is use a cron, and every time I just generate like some of them, save them in my database and others. So for the I was looking for the model who is like kind of cheap, but who I can keep using without, having to spend like a lot of money. So that's also one of the reasons that later on I focus on DeepSeek because it was like kind of a one kind of open source, that I can just use directly without spending like money. And what was funny is it will generate like also a good question. Like even if the question generated by DeepSeek and ChatGPT, I can't really just saw the difference, to be honest. But what I just noticed is it was good in English. When I was try other language, I think the translate maybe I don't know. Nowadays, they just get better. I don't know. Maybe I need to try it again. But when I just read on other languages, the question generated, like the translate wasn't so good so far. So I think it just depending on what you really want to do with the model itself. If you don't require it like a lot, and if you know that you can also keep using your mind, so okay, you can do it. So depending on the person, yeah, I guess.
I'll take this point from you, which you said that if you keep on using your mind, then any model will add on to whatever you are doing. But
Mm.
if you outsource your mind completely, then
Yeah.
there is a problem. So
Yeah,
on
it is,
that, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, it is funny to say that, but I think it's happened a lot. Like
Agreed.
sometimes you are like, okay, I can just create this file. Let's suppose, for example, you want to create like very small file. It can be like just UI or just a little snippet of code of algo you want to put in. And you are like, oh, let us prompt it. But by prompt it, you are just going to use some token, right? And you're like, I have just spent like some few dollars. But at least I know that if it was like 3 years ago, I would just write it by my hand. So it just depends.
Yes, and I recently used Quen 3.7 for
Okay.
some of the coding tasks, and I was just evaluating it, and I really felt that you know um, whatever I could do by hand, it speeds me up because I know what are the things that's gonna come, and there is no problem in that.
Hmm.
So as you said, I was applying my mind, and again, I also don't like to spend a lot of money, especially nowadays,
Mhm.
on using some models, because the problem is that context window is increased. But have you guessed any changes because of the million token context window? I will tell you my experience. What I felt that, not sure, people are talking about it. Even though context windows goes to 1 million, but if you go beyond a certain limit, it looks like it is going to touch each and everything. So even if I ask my model to do a small change, and I don't know what all things are there in the context window, it ends up changing so many places, so many things. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. So sometimes it happen, especially if you are, for example, chatting with him for like too long time ago. This is kind of weird sometimes because you feel like if you have more context, maybe you should better understand what I want to do and just do it quickly. But as far you are just going, um, you are just going to ask, like you were saying, for small changes. For example, you know that it's just like one or two line to change, but he's going to just add more code without like any explanation. So, and again, if you are someone who is like inexperimented or if you don't really know what you are building, of course you are just going to say, okay, it works. So why not? No.
So, in the mobile development, coming back to two of the technologies which captured the attention of people. One was React Native. Second, when it came after that, Flutter also came, right? So these two became some kind of people try to make either one of them as a de facto standard, because the USP was like code once and it will run on iOS and Android.
Hmm.
You don't need to worry about it. But in the age of AI, do knowing Flutter or React Native matters, or can I decide to just focus on one thing, let's say Flutter or React Native? What's your take? How, let's say I'm new to mobile development. How
Yeah.
should I approach this? I know that people are talking about React Native, Flutter and everything. So what
Yeah.
should I tell my AI? I should tell him to do it in either Flutter or React Native. What should I do?
Just let the AI choose. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Good one.
Yeah, yeah, that's very funny because how things are being for like almost just 3 years ago are very different from now. Like 3 years ago, people were just fighting about which technology you should use. I don't really think like company is still thinking the same. Like now they are more focused. Okay, maybe we are just going to talk about that later, but um, how just what is like kind of like smallest team that we can have that working on that techno, you know. But in the case of Flutter and React Native, those two techno have proved that okay, they are working fine, like on the market. Like people or companies who are just using Flutter, for example, they are building like a good apps, not because I really like Flutter, but that's the case. And same for React Native, because I have been working with React Native some months ago now, like on other projects, and it's also working great. Like at the beginning, I was like, oh, I'm not sure that I should code with React Native, but when I just because it was like long time that I haven't tried it, but when I just try it, I was like, okay, then it's work also. So for kind of newcomers or people who are just new in development in general, um, I will split it like in two categories. The first one, um, it is your own app. you know, let's suppose that it is your own app. Then you just like one technology more than others. Like, and for example, if you are coming from the web technology or you are more familiar with JavaScript, of course, naturally, we are just going to go directly through React Native and say, okay, I will just like this one so I can just build my app. So it is okay to use React Native. If you are The second case is if you are working with company or if you want to be hired by company, you should maybe study what company or what company are using the techno you want to study the most, for example. And with like this AI new generation that we have been on since some years now, yeah, the techno is not, again, the only thing that people should care about, because with AI now we can, go faster, at least if you know what you are doing. So yeah, it's not, you know you can just be literally whatever you want. um but for, I will say, for example, for some specific cases, again, where the techno can really matter is, for example, if you want to build something like very specific, like for example, if I just decide to create an app, for example, like CapCut, for example. I made like the test with Flutter. It was working fine, but there wasn't like a lot of library, you know, that is helping to build just an app directly with CapCut in Flutter. Like, I mean, you will just need to code by your hand some other feature that, for example, in React Native, you can just use in like other libraries. So those are very specific cases. But in general, like a lot of app, you can just shoot whatever you want and yeah, just ship.
Okay, great. So on top of that, I have another question. I have had few interesting conversations with some of the people. Like when they go for interviews, so they have to study, they have to learn the language. To
Mm.
what extent they should learn? Because many people have told me that in the interviews they have been asked the same kind of questions, which was kind of de facto question set before the AI came into picture, and they they cannot say that okay, these things AI will do, I will do on top of that. So what will you recommend to the people, like how to study in this AI world?
That's a good question, and I think we have been talking about also that when before we just run the live,
Mhm.
when you were asking me, for example, if I'm still making like a lot of tutorials, it is also this kind of in the same niche. For example, during the past, a lot of people were coming to YouTube or even if on Google, for example, if they are looking for some information and like, okay, yeah, let me just directly make my research on Google or go to YouTube, see some tutorials. Nowadays, you can use like your cloud code, asking him to do something and he's just going to do it even if you don't really understand. Maybe the difference was like by just looking by yourself or searching on YouTube or I don't know, make reading some article on Medium, you were kind of learning at the same time that you are building. Now with cloud code, sometimes you can just generate something and it was like, okay, I will just review later. And if you forgot, then okay, you are like, okay, it's already made. Let's move on. So coming from like the interview part, uh, a recruiter, I think nowadays are just going to ask you if you are using AI tools. What I just noticed is more and more company are kind of adopting this AI tools or AI area. So if you are good at your techno, of course they are just going to ask you some few questions.
Mhm.
But are you going to say that, oh, I don't know this, but AI can do it, so I can use AI? Or are you just going to say, yeah, I'm good at AI, so I'm just going to find, now we are talking about AI as technology.
Right.
So yeah, because during the past, people were just asking question about okay, the techno itself. For example, what can you build with that? Do you know how to create, I don't know, a list, for example? How do you use a tuple? But nowadays, I'm pretty sure like there is some developer who don't care about that and who was like, oh, I know how to prompt. So the new system is kind of like more prompting engineering stuff oriented, like yeah, I'm good at just this techno, for example. So if I can give advice to people, learn both.
That's a great advice actually, because I was having a conversation around couple of months back with a company, and they wanted to check uh, you know how good or bad I am. So uh, it it went to a language which I use 6 to 7 languages till now. So it's not possible to remember each one of them. So they asked me some questions about a language which I used around 4 or 5 years back, and they were asking me some kind of trick question that used to be kind of de facto questions pre AI time. And I said to them is that, look, I can tell you the concept, I don't remember the syntax.
Mm,
Syntax part is easy because learning syntax, I always say that learning syntax is not learning programming. For programming you don't even need to learn any syntax, right? Programming can be done in pseudocodes also. So I think you said exactly the same thing. Look, you don't need to remember some things which is just a fingertip away,
mm.
but concept wise, I believe the people should be aware of that how things are happening. What do you say?
Yeah, I'm joining your point because I think building is okay. Like you can build nowadays, even if you are using AI. The most important is try to understand what or which, for example, when you are using your AI tools and it just add a line, what this line is doing in your code, you know, because in kind of like long term, and I'm pretty sure that like in some years, we are just going to face like this issue is there is going to have like a lot of apps that we are vibe coding is good. Like the term is just like vibe coding is kind of like prompting, so everyone knows that nowadays. But we are going through an area where there are just going to have like a lot of app with bugs, and people are just going to need people who really understand how things work in order to come analyze. And one thing I just also noticed with people, for example, some people that I have been working with, is people are using a lot, like AI, a lot for generating like code and others, but not a lot for debugging. Like, for example, they're just going to come and say, yeah, I have this bug, just fix it. And once it is done by AI, they are, okay, cool, it's working. But you can also use AI, for example, kind of like to analyze what you are currently doing. Ask him, for example, to go deeper and try just to review your code. And if there is something, for example, that you notice that, this is kind of weird, or I can just improve it by myself, you can ask him because AI is kind of like uh, a co-founder of your project or of your code.
Right.
It should not be like the the driver, and you should not be like just a passenger and just who sit and just like, okay, let's move on, So yeah.
Okay, good. So, when you create a mobile app nowadays, or even web app for that matter, you have a front end and you have a back end. Now, AI can be used pretty much everywhere. Is there anywhere you will suggest not to use AI? Is there any place uh, where you will recommend not to use the AI and instead use your actual intelligence?
Oh, okay. I mean, you should use your actual intelligence like everywhere.
That's a good
like,
point.
like using AI again, like I was saying, should be like, okay, it is a tools. For example, I just remember back when, for example, Copilot was uh drop. First of all, a lot of people were using Copilot. By talking about Copilot, I was talking like about like the oldest version without like having like a lot of AIs integrated to Copilot. The time when Copilot was just helping people in VS Code, for example, for auto completion and others. Like it was just for auto completion. Like, of course, you can just based on that and just create like a whole product, or but when you have your auto completion, you are just going to think twice and say, okay, this is what I want, this is not what I want. Even if it is like front end or back end, whatever, like you know what you want to build, you know how you want to structure it, and you are just using a tool that might help you. It is very similar. I think with AI, it is almost the same. Like for the front, for the back, you can use it like anywhere. I don't think like nowadays there is like some space where you should not use it, but you should just understand what you are using it for. That's the difference. Because if you let just your AI generate like the whole backend, for example, and you are like, okay, I'm just a front end developer, I build my backend on the top of AI. When there is some uh first of all security stuff that you are just going to skip, for example, and this is like very dangerous for not only your product but for your user as well. And or if there is like, for example, some, I don't know, bugs that you need to fix later, you are just going to not understand your code and was like, okay, my subscription to Cloud Code is finished, so how I'm just going to fix this in the next hours before, or I don't know, Cloud Code is down, so yeah, my app is also down for for a few hours. So this seems like funny and humorous, but at the same time it's very dangerous. So at least keep in mind, just try to know how things work in your front and back. So yeah.
Yep. Off late, I am seeing one joke in LinkedIn that somebody is saying that my Cloud Code subscription is gone, so can we build a cloud?
Mm.
That was interesting actually, because I don't know. Based on my experience, some people can say that also.
Yeah, of course.
So, like you are based out of Paris. So, how is the ecosystem of this mobile app development and mobile app developers is there in European economic area? Is it the demands are there, or how is the ecosystem looks like?
Hmm. I think in Paris or like in Europe in general, you have like some events. Um, some years ago, I was like very into, especially last year, for example, I was into like try to uh, go to some events because I was finding like funny. So people are trying to have events, but I'm pretty sure like it's still the case. But just personally, um, I'm not going, again on a lot of events and others. But about the community itself, um, yeah, there is like some communities. People are trying to create like some small kind of. It is not like a big event, but you can just come share a topic, for example. But again, with AI are here, I don't know how things are going, to be honest. Maybe now people are talking about how to use AI with your code or mobile in order to increase the speed of the production of your code. And I'm pretty sure that should be like new topics that people are talking about more than how things really work. But yeah, now if you want to talk about the job market, the mobile development and other. Mobile development is still growing, in different areas. So companies and other are still looking for people to build like mobile app and other. But the only difference, and I think this is not just related to the Europe, it is kind of like in the whole world now. Companies are trying to shipping product without having like a lot of people, because now we are in AI area. So yeah, things are changing. And again, that's also why you should understand what you are doing by using AI. At least if you want to be like a software engineer. If you are just like a product person, maybe you don't care. Maybe you are just going to find someone who is good at coding and work with that person. But if your job is into the tech or you are a nerd, of course, you just need to understand. If you go again to interview for a company, you should be able to say, okay, yeah, I'm using AI, but also I know how to use my brain in case there is something, or I can think twice before build a feature. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you made a great point. Like, you should know where you fit in, and based on that, maybe you decide what extent you want to understand and know things, and what area you want to focus on. Like as you said, like the what product person should be focusing on maybe more of the business and product use cases. But if you're somebody who's into development, maybe you should know how things are happening. Yeah, that's a good point. Now, um, I'll just ask, one last question, maybe, because this is something somebody asked me a few days back.
Okay.
Like, with AI, everybody is saying AI is great, AI is doing this, doing that, and everything. You can do things in 2 hours. Of course, I know that nothing can be done in 2 hours. If people
Yeah,
say this,
some people are saying a lot of things like that, especially on sometimes even for LinkedIn. When I come and saw some posts, people are like, "Yeah, I just ship 2 or 3 apps this week and others." Okay, again, it is not like shipping who is maybe the barrier. You can ship. There is no problem. I mean, creating like a POC or MVP is not uh, um, a problem nowadays. It just depends what you want to create. And before you just ask your question, there is also something that I just remember that I want to add is using AI, for example, for the front end is good. Like, for example, you can use AI if you were kind of like not very good at the design, for example. Now AI can help you to just build kind of a good design, based on the project that you are working on. But if you notice, there is like some pattern that show you that, for example, this project has been generated by AI, because a lot of people are just using the same like. So sometimes it just feels weird because there is some products that are like very close, like kind of there are not like a good design system behind them, and everything looks like very similar. So yeah, just a shout out to all the dev. If you can try to just to improve the design as well, don't hesitate. But yeah, sorry, you can go ahead.
that's a good point. So, what I wanted to ask is that, people are saying that if this is true, why we are not seeing the flood of apps coming in the app store? I mean, I don't know, somebody quoted some data. I'm not sure about data, but the crux of the day talk was like, we are not getting flood of things as expected by the AI. So something is missing. So you tell me your thoughts on this, and then I have a follow up thing to talk about.
Mm. Can you just repeat again? Yeah.
So basically, for example, if Uber like app creation is so edgy with AI,
Mm.
why
Mm.
not each and every company who can afford few front and back end servers create Uber like app?
Oh, I mean,
So it's there is
yeah,
no flood is not coming in the market. Companies whose products were monopoly, they are still kind of Uber, Bolt, and
yeah.
free now kind of
I
thing, right?
mean, since years ago, again, I don't think like create a product was the problem that we are facing, like in the tech area. So, and I don't think like the AI is going to change like everything at 100%. Of course, like with AI, you can build faster. That is, that is factual. I'm not going to change the world, but creating a product is great. And I think like what's happened to a lot of nerds, it is like, let me just go back behind some years ago
Mhm.
when I just start when I went to university, and I was like, okay, I want also to create like the next Facebook, like a lot of people was thinking. So like, okay, if someone just have made it, then why not? It's just a chat app. Now I know how to code, then I can just create like there should be like a lot of different Facebook by the way now, even if on store like Google and others. Um, the problem is not just create a product, because create a product there is like, I know some developer who are like really good developer. They can literally build you any kind of apps you want, any kind of website, any kind of SaaS you want, with any kind of technology. Especially with AI, they can go like 2 or 3 6 times faster, but they can't sell. Like creating product is not just about create the product and ship it. Huge company, for example, they take time to understand what people really need. They try to understand uh, what the end user really want. For example, so they are just going to also have like some analytics that they are just going to put in order to better understand. So there is kind of like the whole industry. That's of course with AI again, there is like different tools, for example, again for analytics that you can just plug into your app. But building is not the only step that you should think about when you want to think about launching a product, because you can create a product. Today we are 6th June, right? By the end of this weekend, finish your product, push it to App Store or Play Store by next of the week, but no one's going to download it.
Exactly. So, for the namesake, we have a product, but nobody is using it.
I have built some product that nobody were using. So this
Even I have a few things in my GitHub repo which nobody is using.
yeah.
Okay, so I think, we talked a lot about it. How do you see the future? I mean, in
Hmm.
next 2 to 3 years, what do you see?
How do I see? First of all, I hope that I will have like a lot of money, so I won't need to see the future again.
That's a good one.
But yeah, I think like if when I was at university, if someone tell me that now we are just going to be like in the AI area, like with that tools and many others, like you were saying, for example, when some students come up to you and say, should we really need to learn? Maybe I should have asked myself also those kind of questions, to be honest. I don't ask myself those kind of questions because there wasn't like any tools. You need just to learn by yourself. That's all. Um, with the future, things are changing, and of course, I think we are just going to have more and more AI tools, more and more tokens. I just hope that the tokens are just going to get cheaper than just costing more. I don't know how, but hopefully we are just going to get to that point. Uh, we are just going to have like a lot of products that are just going to be shipped. Like again, I was reading like some starting from revenue card. There was like a lot of app that has been shipped since last year, for example. But shipping again, like I was saying, is not um, like bidding is not a new barrier. For example, the barrier now are just going to be like distribution. So can you target the right person? Can you understand what people really need? How you are just going to bid things. So this is kind of like mobile development side. I'm talking about mobile development are just going to exist again, since we just have like mobile app, like having, if you have iPhone, then you are just going to need apps more and more. If you have like Android, whatever, Huawei, so you are just going to need app. So hopefully, um but again, we are just going to have a lot of security issue on many apps. uh we are just going to have, I would say, unfortunately, a lot of people depending on centralized source like that using AI. So um yeah, different stuff. But the only thing, let's just don't forget that human just have a brain and keep using the brain. That's the only thing that I can just say. Yeah.
That's a great point. We humans, if we don't use our brain, what will we do?
Yeah.
That's the question. Okay, so we are doing live for close to 40, more than 45 minutes now, and did lots of good good conversation with you. Learned a lot from you, and I think for today this much is enough for all of us to
Mhm.
digest.
Sure.
So uh, so before we close, anything you would like to say, Fabrice?
Mm, First of all, I want to say thanks. Because I have been finding like some of that I was kind of like off now, but you bring me back to the stage. Thanks
Yeah.
again for the invitation. I really like the conversation. And yeah, I think this is like good initiative. Don't stop it. You can just send me a message, whatever you want, and yeah, keep doing that. And just tell people that yeah, you can build products, build apps, websites, whatever you want nowadays. There is like a lot of tools. Don't limit it yourself. Just try new stuff, and maybe one day you can be like, I don't know. I wish everyone to be have like a good company, good tech product that they ship and they just like it.
Okay. Okay, good point. And thank you, Fabrice. Thank you so much for joining and taking time out today. And with this, we are closing this. I definitely look forward to meet you again sometime later in another
Sure,
episode to
sure,
talk
sure.
about something else. Thank you so much.
Thanks.